I'm a person who was always working on the Ethereum niche. So now in Brazil, I saw that there are a lot of chains. This action from the Brazilian central bank create a wave that hits all these companies and banks and crypto fintechs. So nobody wants to lose the opportunity. Yeah, Latam is like a region, but it's a big region. So we have different realities, different values and uses, traditions. It's important to gain perspective.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Frontera, the podcast where we analyze what's happening in crypto in Latin America. I'm generally more energetic in the intro, but right now I'm at a cafe because I don't know, my internet went down, so I cannot scream as usual. But today I'm with my great friend Kush, founder of Odisea Labs, and also Romy from Itlatam. Romy, you've had a long trajectory, a long experience in crypto in Latin America. So thank you for being here. How are you?
And I'm freezing in Buenos Aires because I was in Sao Paulo for all the for the last well, yes, now we are in June. So in Jan I was in Sao Paulo, was warmer than here in so I'm suffering, but I'm okay. Thank you.
Amazing. Well, thank you for coming to Frontera. I think that you are one of the people in the region that has been more embedded in crypto communities and projects for a long time. So for people that we have a real international audience in Frontera from people in Europe, in other places of Latin America, in the US. Could you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into crypto? I'd love to hear that story.
Yeah, I start when in 2018. In that moment, I was a waitress. I was working in a store. Um, a friend invited me to buy some pizzas, and he started to talk about Bitcoin, about the decentralization. And for me, it was super important because in that moment we had some problems in my village. I'm from a small town from Mendoza. It's like 10K inhabitants, very small, and in that moment for me was makes sense the narrative of Bitcoin and the decentralization. Then I start to I don't know, fell in the rabbit hole, and I discovered Ethereum, the potential of the smart contracts. And in that moment was very important, an advice from a friend. He told me, don't do trade, don't do like don't be a speculator, just work in the crypto industry. And now I'm here. I start to work in a local exchange in Buenbit in Argentina. And in that moment was the DeFi summer. So I was like I don't know, paying attention to the all the adoption in the lockdown in Argentina because a lot of people lost his jobs, so they start to do some arbitrage with stable coins and dollar and pesos, and at the same time in the niche was happening all these DeFi summers, so I was paying attention to that. So uh, I think that I'm part of that generation. And then we start to organize some events. We start with ETH Latam in 2022, and now we have the Itkipu Foundation, and we are working directly with the Ethereum Foundation and with communities in Latin America. This is a brief recap.
Why? What was it that, like, you mentioned you were having these like problems in your local town, right? But like, I'm curious, maybe just for the audience, like, I'd love to hear more about the value proposition that you think crypto, particularly in Latin America, why it matters, and why the audience should care about this technology in this part of the world.
There is I think that I'm not the best with my English, but there is an article in the New York Times. A girl in a journalist, Anna Lankes. She interviewed me in the past about this, but in that moment in my village, in Argentina in general, not in Buenos Aires, in the rest of the province, wasn't very popular the QR code. or the postnet for the debit card or credit card. So the cash was very important to do any payment, just for, I don't know, a car or I don't know, a candy or a meal. So to access to this cash, you need to go to the ATMs. And in my village, it was very common not to we can't we couldn't do some withdrawals of money, because of course you have just one ATM for 10K people, so you need to add liquidity. So sometimes the banks didn't pay attention to this ATM in a small village, and I had to travel to Mendoza capital to other big cities, to bigger cities, to do some withdrawing the ATMs. So in that moment, of course, was important for me this sentence of the white paper, the electronic cash system, peer-to-peer transactions. I think that in Argentina, yet you have a lot of peer-to-peer operations. Is I think that makes sense for an Argentinian mindset. It's better to do a treat between two persons and avoid the intermediaries.
And now let's shift into sort of Itlatam and Itkipu and the Itkipu Foundation. And I've actually, have had the fortune to see this whole project sort of evolve. This has been really cool to see that. But like, talk about this evolution and what is Itkipu, what is Itlatam? Give us that overview of what's going on there.
Yeah, now that I'm in Brazil, I think that I'm like closing a circle, because I wasn't part of a key. Was a I think that if I have to write the history, the first or the kickoff for the first milestone was a talk in Rio de Janeiro in Ethereum Rio 2022. And Skylar in that moment was leading the DevCon team. He had he talked with some people from the Latin America ecosystem, of Ethereum, and his idea was to host a local day before DevCon in Bogota, like a day in Spanish, because of course in Latin America we speak Spanish and Portuguese, but Portuguese is only present, only the Brazilians speak Portuguese and the rest we speak Spanish. So in that moment, he wants to have a day in Spanish. And there was some Argentinian in that talk, and they decide to create a first edition in Buenos Aires, because in Argentina you have a big community, but in that moment, only in 2018, we had it global, and then we didn't have any big event or important conference. Yes, of course, we have like Chain Agnostic or Polkadot Summit or whatever, but not from Ethereum with the signaling of the Ethereum Foundation or something like that. So we start to organize in 2022. And it was super important because we had 4K attendees. Was crazy. Was a lot of people from Cure, people from Aave, people from the big protocols. We had Ajna Miyaguchi from the Ethereum Foundation, other EFers. So it was the first time that we could do a big event, not only to show to the rest of the world that we have a strong community. At the same time, I think that we achieve, and when I say we, I'm talking about a group of 60 people, not only four or five. We were like a mass creating this event, and I think that we achieved the goal to do a good on board, because 3 years ago was an event, but now in 2025, I think that there are people who they talk to me and say, hey, I remember the first Itlatam was important for me. Now I'm working in a protocol or whatever. So was super important to start the road to DevCon. In 2022, there was events in Bolivia, in Chile, in Colombia. It's like all the Latin people start to work together to go to DevCon Bogota. And I think that the first time that we collaborate together from the different countries was with the Chiva, this tracking DevCon, and was like a social activity. But at the same time, we start to collaborate to do these previous actions before DevCon Bogota. And at the end of the year, we try to do a collective exercise to start to create this entity, because the Ethereum Foundation told us, hey, you work very well, you do a good events, but if you want, you can create a roadmap and you can have more, I don't know, more objectives, more areas, and we can give us support, and we can do a plan. So we present the roadmap. We start at the beginning with Kipu as a foundation, with the education part, with the staking, with community, with public goods. I think that in that moment, was important to execute, not was important for us not to lose the momentum, the timing. But now I think that we have more experience, and in that moment was appear some frictions. So now in Brazil we are like starting again, but in another in another server, in another ecosystem. So I think that in that moment we learn a lot to create another movement or another I don't know, another path, another mindset in other country.
Romy, I think that the whole story of the way of pushing education and community across Latin America, we are now seeing the fruits of that. Like we're gonna have DevCon in Argentina, in Buenos Aires. Well, Kush and I started this podcast because we see that Latin America is the most important region for crypto because of GDP, the size of the opportunity, the different, how underfunded the region is, the quality of builders. So I would love also to understand the relevance of Brazil for this region, because one of the main reasons for us to make this podcast in English is that basically Brazil is more than one third of the continent or the region, and Brazilians don't speak Spanish, and we need to have like a global audience. So we've had a couple of episodes from people from Brazil. So I would love to. You've built stuff in Argentina, now in Brazil, having both perspectives of the Spanish speaking Latam and Portuguese speaking Latam. Could you give us a perspective of what are the biggest differences, and also what are the biggest opportunities in each of the regions?
Yes, but of course, I want to do this. My disclaimer is like my appreciations and my points of view are biased or maybe influenced for the. I'm a person who was always working on the Ethereum niche. So now in Brazil, I saw that there are a lot of chains. So this is my take from a person who lives in Latin America and who works in Latin America, but since 2029. So I work in crypto, so this is my perspective. I think that my first take, and it's super specific, but I think that the Argentinian people, they are always, of course, we live too many years under this inflation and this instability, we don't know the political stability or the economical stability. So it's normal for the Argentinian mindset um, to decide day by day. And in Brazil, I think that they happily they have like more. Of course, there are a lot of um, political situations and preference and etc. But they are like less stress and they prefer to pay when you think in how the Brazilians have a relationship with the products or with the economy or whatever. They prefer to pay to gain more mm, time for them, for their family, for their friends, and they are more direct than the Argentinian people. It's like the Argentina is always with some doubts, or they say, yeah, yeah, let's go to do something. This is for me the I think that the Brazilian people is more pragmatical and more direct, and the Argentinian is like more ethereal. But at the yeah, I think that the Brazilians are more focused on business, on where is the revenue, where is the ROI, and I love it because the rules there are more clear, are clearer than in Argentina. In Argentina, I think that we have, for example, too many talents working on infra or protocols or I don't know standards or I don't know. There are lots of examples of people working on Aztec or working on Hard Hat, Open Zeppelin. In Brazil, I think that you have the talent more concentrated in apps or end app users. I think that they work in products. It's not from the last year. It's they are working on products since I don't know, from many years. So, for example, I remember when the last ETCC last year, people was complaining about the infra and that where are the users, where are the people. DevCon has this strong real world Ethereum, real world use case, and I think that Brazil was super deep on the products since 20. I don't know. I don't want to say a year, but they are more pragmatical. No, they are not so. I don't know. They prefer to think in the user directly. So I think that Ethereum needs to meet this ecosystem to learn more how to choose the strategies to develop a product and how to distribute it.
So you talked about the cultural differences. What about like? I mean, I'm curious if you were thinking about engaging with Brazil. Like, what are the considerations that, as someone who's not Brazilian, like somebody should take into account when engaging with Brazil in particular?
Well, it depends, but for example, one thing that I think that worked very well in Brazil is the ambassador programs, and in Argentina, no. It's like, yeah, yeah, of course, you can be an ambassador of a protocol or a chain, but in it's not the best strategy. Um, One thing that I'm observing is that I'm trying to understand in Argentina you have like all you have a FOMO for the credit cards, the crypto cards, and these things, this movement or this hype for the cards disappears in some moment. Now is like um, coming again with the international crypto credit cards. But in Brazil is super important, and in Argentina it's not a good strategy to get some cashback, for example. But in Brazil is super important, and I was talking with some person from this. startups who are launching these cars or companies, and they told me that the Brazilian people is more constant with the use of the products. It's like they choose and they maintain this engaged with the product. So in my opinion, you have to yes, you can create a lot of strategy, but if your product is easy to use and could offer a real solution, they prefer that. In Argentina, maybe they will prefer the maybe not the best product, but a product with a good cashback or less fees, less commission, cheaper. In Brazil, they prefer a good product. That's one thing that I think that could be cool to have in mind when you are doing a strategy for Brazil. And I think that usually the people from crypto likes to explain how to use blockchain or how work. In Brazil, they have a really good researchers, they have politicians, and they have regulators who are super deep in crypto and in blockchain. So you can go directly to the point because you don't need to explain. They know and they know well. So they are more not professional. I think that they are more in touch with the technology because they are working with Hyperledger. They are developing these Trex pilots. So this action from the Brazilian Central Bank create a wave to um, that hits all these companies and banks and crypto fintechs. So nobody wants to lose the opportunity to adopt blockchain to do tokenization or real world assets, or there are, for example, a big landscape of stable coins. So the best approach is to understand the what is the momentum of Brazil. In fact, the federal government launched on April National Observatory of Blockchain. So if you want to map the Brazilian ecosystem, you don't need to do it because they are doing for you. You can open the site and you can see a large list, and you can see a map with all these protocols, communities, and I think that mm, yes, they are super pro in this aspect.
I think that one of the most important things that we've realized, and it's kind of obvious for us now, is how advanced Brazil is versus the region. I mean, they have like their own micro strategy or strategy. What's the name of the company? Kush Melius or something like that, right?
Melius.
Yeah. So those guys basically their stock price has more than doubled since they become the micro strategy from Brazil. Also, it was the first market in the world to have a Solana ETF, one of the first to have an XRP ETF, a Bitcoin ETF. So it's also really forward looking. And in the other hand, it's also the one that it's advancing faster regarding regulation. Stable coins and the relevance of, and they see the risk of stable coins for their national security or their national economy.
Where do you think this comes? Like, what is it unique about Brazil? Like, is it the culture? Is it like what is the why is Brazil so advanced in this in its current state, and why does this matter?
I'm constantly doing this question to the Brazilian people. Some people told me that they are nearby of Europe, so they need to manage some standards to have a commercial relationship. And yeah, there are other people who just the, when I traveled to Brazil and I was spending many weeks, I understood that they think as a big country. I say they are part of the BRICS too. In Argentina, yes, we are part of the G20, but we are country from the south. So now I understood that the Brazilian has like a, they are proud of their country and they are proud of their standards and levels. So they are trying to be better constantly. Maybe it could be similar in Mexico because they are nearby Estados Unidos and there are a lot of people. They are a big country, but yeah, they want to be a important, a key actor in the um, internationally scene. So they are constantly working for that. They love their country. They are super proud of their country. So it's like they have a collective mindset. In Argentina, I think that we are more individualist.
Yeah, I think that each country has its specificities. As you said, in Mexico, we are closer to the US, so we are really influenced by their culture. I think that as a country, we are really proud of our roots, but like Mexicans are a lot more fearful when trying technology, or basically when trying anything that it's not spicy food. With spicy food, we're good. With everything else, we are well. The Mexican people is afraid of them of random shit. So, Romy, thank you for coming to Frontera. To close, is there? I would love to hear if you have like any final takes about Brazil, Latin America. What are you excited about for the upcoming months?
Yeah, when we start to create this narrative of Itlatam, I remember that I'm always constantly traveling to different part of the world, and I when I took Copa Airlines, they always are offering a stopover in Panama, stopover in Panama. When I went to Dev Connect in Istanbul, uh, Turkish Airlines and Emirates offered a stopover in Istanbul. So I thought that Brazil, Itlatam, Sao Paulo is a good stopover before that connect. Because if we have people traveling from Europe, USA, Asia, you have to do an scale. You have to do a stopover in Guarulhos. It's the biggest airport in South America. And then you are super close to Dev Connect and you have the opportunity to see two ecosystems. They are similar, but they are similar because in the culture, but are different. There are two moments of there are two momentums, and you can have perspective to understand what is the best approach for your company, for you as an individual, or your startup, or your protocol. Because yeah, Latam is like a region, but it's a big region. So we have different realities, different values and uses, traditions. So it's important to gain perspective. All the people is hype for DevConnect, and I think that this is amazing because I'm from Argentina. But this is an opportunity some days before that connect. And of course, if you don't want to attend to Itlatam, you please go to Blockchain Rio, Ethereum Brazil, Ethereum Floripa. Just go to Brazil because uh, they are really good. I'm super happy to understand that because I think that I'm learning a lot from Brazil, and I'm learning in a personal, from my personal side, not only in the uh, from my job or my work. So this is an opportunity to understand better Latin America. Yeah.
Nice, Romy. Thank you so much for coming. This has been awesome. And where can people find you? Where can they keep up with everything going on with Itlatam and Itkipu?
Yeah, yeah. You can follow me on Twitter, Crypto Chica, or in Instagram. I'm trying to be more active and talk more about all this process because it's a process for me too. So I'm constantly open and I'm open to feedback and open to collaborations because it's about to attract the social layer to Latam. It's like, hey, this is the year. So thank you to you for inviting me.
Amazing. Thank you, Romy. Follow Kush at 0xkush. Follow me at AbrahamCR. And remember to subscribe to the newsletter. We have the best research about crypto in Latin America. See you next time. Take care. Thank you.